They started all the way back in 2024 when David first had this interaction with police about his relationship with Celeste, right? When Riverside County got involved, when she was a missing teen. And they showed body cam footage of their interaction with David. What'd you take away from that? What was that footage showing?
Yeah, they did. I mean, they showed up to his house because they were looking for Celeste, and they said that he was polite. He acknowledged that he thought she was 18, but someone else had told him that she was 13. And let's not forget, we're talking about a young girl here. It was something I kept remembering throughout the day. And as Lauren said, to see those pictures in court, Jesse, and like, you don't even really want to hear the details of it, but I mean, she was dismembered. She was in multiple bags. She had decomposed, and you had Celeste's parents sitting in the front row. Like, you know, sometimes, you know, they'll leave during those moments. They didn't leave the courtroom. And what would happen is that the prosecutor would turn around and sort of like whisper to them, like, okay, this is coming up next. We're about to put up this photo. And they would look down. But there were times they were looking. There were. And I was just thinking.
We're going to find out that David had a contract with his record label that was for $6 million per album. Every time he dropped an album, I know you guys never heard of his music, but his music was pretty popular. He was going to get $6 million per album. Just to put it in perspective, that's fucking huge. That would be probably more than 95 to 96% of all musicians currently that's on a major. I say that to say his music clearly was either highly profitable or definitely his label, which was Interscope Records. They were definitely exploiting his likeness and his music to a very high level. By the way, his monthly listeners was out the roof. Fruit Jams in the chat. What up? We're going to find out.
They found a dryer sheet in the inflatable pool that David allegedly put Celeste in before dismembering her. We just got some brand new information on day 2 of the trial that proves even more how guilty David is. So one of the witnesses called to the stand today was a criminalist named Lauren, and she actually went to David's home to inspect the garage, and what she found was horrifying. She said she walked into the garage and found the inflatable pool, but it was actually deflated and crumpled up into a ball. So her and her team unwrapped it and did find signs of blood, but right in the middle, they found a dryer sheet, suggesting that David used the inflatable pool to unalive her and then immediately tried to wash it to cover up what he did. She also said there was stains and blood all around the garage, and there was a gym area that had floor mats, and she found cuts in the floor mats. And when they picked up the floor mats, they found so much blood underneath that you could just tell what happened there. She also said they found black trash bags inside of the garage with cleaning equipment like Clorox wipes, and they appeared to have been used. They were yellow and brownish, like he was trying to wipe the blood off of the floor and again get rid of the evidence. They also confirmed that DNA swabs were taken from inside the Tesla that matched the DNA of Celeste. They also showed pictures of the seats from inside the car, and in the third row, the seats had a lot of blood, meaning it's possible that Celeste was in those seats before being moved to the front. David's team immediately tried to discredit this, just like they did with a lot of other things, and say that these images were enhanced or photoshopped to show a lot.
Y'all, people cannot stop talking about one detail from today's hearing. David reportedly never looked away while photos of Celeste were shown in court. The most disturbing thing we heard today is how multiple reports mentioned the same detail about David. He reportedly did not take his eyes off the photos shown of Celeste. The court sketches from today's preliminary hearing are now being released, and I want y'all to really picture this. David sitting there in court, staring at those images, while reports say he didn't flinch or look away the entire time. But another thing that stood out today was the timeline of the items prosecutors say David ordered. Because when you look at the order of everything, it raises a lot of questions. Prosecutors allege that after Celeste's death, David ordered a shovel, which was never recovered. Then came the chainsaws, body bag, and inflatable pool. One of the chainsaws, the blue Makita, was also never recovered. Months later, right before his tour, prosecutors say he ordered a burn cage and burn mat. The burn mat was never recovered either. And that's where people are questioning the timeline, because some items were left behind, but some of the items people have questions about are the ones that disappeared. The pool is especially important because investigators were able to match blue plastic fragments found on Celeste to that inflatable pool through forensic testing. So now people are asking.
Tomorrow could be one of the biggest.
In the preliminary hearing, we just heard how much Tesla data that they got on David, trying to connect him to being the last person that drove the Tesla with Celeste Rivas Hernandez in it, and it's a lot. Started out by showing the video footage of David being the last person to drive the Tesla on July 29th of 2025, right before he left on his tour. Investigators testified that David's iPhone was disconnected also from the Tesla on July 29th, which was the last day it was parked. And this phone David called Tranquilizer, and this phone was never recovered. So it is missing, and it's still missing right now. There's also video footage that was turned into multiple pictures of David in the neighborhood on July 29th of 2025, right after parking that car, going back into his home. When they served that search warrant, they were also able to get a receipt that was in the car for July 29th also, and he was shopping at Ross, so they went to Ross and pulled the video footage of him there buying clothes. It seemed like he drove this car to Ross with Celeste still in the front of the Tesla. Other data this Tesla stored was addresses and iPhone and iCloud data that was connected to the Tesla. They also were able to match places that David was going, such as Santa Barbara, from navigation of charging stations that he charged the Tesla at. And then they start talking about the search warrants on his home and things that they took. And one thing that they referenced taking was a computer. And they said the email was connected to his iCloud. And this is where they found receipts for flights that David bought for him and Celeste, like we just talked about, to go to London and Texas. And yes, these were United Airlines flights. One thing that they were able to figure out is he actually used another alias, allegedly, of Trayvon Davis to purchase some of these airline tickets. He used this alias on Amazon and for AT&T. They also talk about the red Tesla that was in David's garage when his home was raided by police and searched. And that red Tesla was actually in David's manager's name, Robert Morgenroth. They also talk about when they raided the home.
And that's going to be the thing about his manager. Like, that's going to be the very important thing people got to realize. His manager may be involved, allegedly, hypothetically, supposedly. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, get me to 10,000 subs. I appreciate the like. I appreciate the love. I'm out.